जय श्री गुरु गौरंग गंधर्व के गिरिधारी श्री राधा रमन बिहारी जी की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जी की जय। ओम श्री विष्णु पाद परमहंस प्रवचकाचार्य सुंदर शास्त्री श्रीमद भक्तिवेदांत श्लोवन गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जयंती प्रविष्ट विष्णु पाद श्री भक्तिवेदांत श्लोवन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। दिले प्रविष्ट विष्णु पाद श्री भक्तिवेदांत श्री नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जयंती प्रविष्ट विष्णु पाद स्तोत्र शास्त्र श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज की जय। जयंती प्रविष्ट विष्णु पाद स्तोत्र शास्त्र श्री भक्ति प्रज्ञान की गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रपात की जय। परमासा गोरख शिवदास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। वैष्णव सर्वभौम जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूपानु गुरुवार्ग की जय। जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्यामा कुंद राधा कुंद जमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समगत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोम। वंदे हम श्री गुरु ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय गौरपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त भानु इति नामिने। वन्देऽहं भक्तिचक्रं गौरङ्गनिजप्रेष्ठितं श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी वन्दे नमस्तुभ्यं। श्रीराधैकनिष्ठितं रसायनकथामृतं सङ्कीर्तनम् आनन्दधाम गोस्वामिनं वनं नमः। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यो नाम्ने गौरतुष्ये नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। ओम वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री श्री गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। First of all, may I be sensitive to my spiritual master. Om Vishnu Pada Paramahans Parvajikacharya Sutra Shati Srimad Bhaktivedanta Shlabana Goswami Maharaj. Två Shlarupana Guruvarga Parangurudev Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Pada Shla Bhaktivedanta Bhamana Goswami Maharaj Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Pada Shla Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. All Urpana Guruvarga Vaishnavas Vaishnavis. To everyone my Dandavat Pranams, Lalit Mohini Didi, Dandavat Pranams. Very auspicious week of Jhulan Yatra Maha Mahotsav. On Friday, Baladev Purnima, the appearance day of Lord Baladev Prabhu. Continuing Bhakti Tattva Viveka, finishing chapter 1 today. So who can tell me what have you been reading on chapter 1? We've been reading about the nature of bhakti. The true nature of devotion. And chapter 1 was intrinsic nature of bhakti. Actually, today we're going to start chapter 2. But first, let's continue from page 28. Now, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, Ekanishta Didi Dandavat Pranams. Now, by carefully reviewing all the previous statements, we can understand that to remain uncovered by jnana, karma, and so forth, which means accepting them as subservient entities, and engage in the favorable cultivation of activities meant to please Shri Krishna, which are devoid of any other desire, is called Uttama Bhakti. So Uttama Bhakti, the highest Bhakti, is to remain uncovered by jnana and karma. What is the meaning of to be uncovered? To be uncovered means accepting them as subservient entities. Hare Krishna Kanishta Didi. Sim, esse aqui é em inglês. A aula em português é terça-feira às 8 da noite. Quarta-feira e segunda é em inglês. É em inglês. engage in favorable cultivation of activities meant to please Shri Krishna is Uttama Bhakti. Bhakti is the only means by which the jiva can obtain transcendental bliss. So the only way we can be truly happy, find transcendental bliss, is by engaging in bhakti. Besides bhakti, all other methods are external. With the assistance of bhakti, sometimes karma is identified as aropa siddha bhakti. When you impose, it's called aropa siddha bhakti. Or endeavors which are indirectly attributed with the quality of devotion. And sometimes Gyan is identified as Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Identified as endeavors associated with or favorable to the cultivation of devotion. But they can never be accepted as Swarupa Siddha Bhakti, or Bhakti in its constitutionally perfected stage. Swarupa Siddha Bhakti is Koitaba Shunya, means free from any deceit, and full of unalloyed bliss by nature, meaning that it is devoid of any desires for heavenly enjoyment and the attainment of liberation. But in Aropa Siddha Bhakti, the desires for bhukti and mukti remain in a hidden position. Therefore, it is also called Sakoitab Bhakti or deceitful Bhakti. Therefore, it is also called Sakaitava Bhakti. Oh, my dear intimate Vaishnavas, by your inconstitutional nature, you are attracted to Swarupa Siddha Bhakti and have no taste for Aropa Siddha Bhakti or Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Although these two types of devotion are not actually bhakti, by their constitution, some people refer to these two types of activities as bhakti. In fact, they are not bhakti, but bhakti-abhasa, or the semblance of real bhakti. If by some good fortune, through the practice of bhakti-abhasa, one develops shraddha for the true nature of bhakti, then only can such practice transform into Shuddha Bhakti. But this doesn't happen easily, because by the practice of Bhakti-abhasa, there exists every possibility of remaining bereft of Shuddha Bhakti. Therefore, in all the scriptures, the instruction is to follow Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. In this short article, the intrinsic nature of Shuddha Bhakti has been explained. Having carefully reviewed all the instructions of our predecessors, Acharyas, in summary form, we are presenting their heartfelt sentiments in the following verse. So now one verse. Purna Chidatmake Krishne Jivashyanu Chidatmanaha Upadi Rahita Cheshta Bhakti Swabhaviki Mata. Shri Krishna is the complete, all-pervading consciousness who always possesses all potencies. And the Jiva is the infinitesimal conscious entity who is likened to a single particle of light situated within a ray of the unlimited spiritual sun. The natural and unadulterated endeavor of the infinitesimal conscious entity towards the complete consciousness is called bhakti. The jiva's persistence towards anabhilash, acting to fulfill desires other than the desire to please Shri Krishna, jnana and karma, is called acquiring material designation. We should understand that the natural inherent endeavor of the jiva can only mean the favorable cultivation of activities to please Shri Krishna. So here Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying that bhakti is the natural tendency of the soul, which is an infinitesimal particle of consciousness from the supreme consciousness Shri Krishna. Bhakti is the natural tendency of the soul. The natural inherent endeavor of the soul is to have a favorable cultivation of activities to please Shri Krishna. Jnana and karma and all of the things are acquiring material designation. So there are generally called three stages of bhakti. Aropa Siddha Bhakti means in the beginning we impose. We don't have that realization, but we impose, right? We hear from Guru, Krishna, from the Shastra, then we start imposing. Even though we don't have that love, with that faith that's strong, but still we have faith, but little, but we impose. That's called Aropa Siddha Bhakti. Then, by associating with the pure devotees, the high Vaishnavas, slowly also we acquire good qualities. So that's called Sangha Siddha Bhakti. So we start also having good qualities like the Vaishnavas. That will be like the second step in devotion. Means truth, veracity, cleanliness, purity, austerity, many kinds of good qualities which are necessary to perform spiritual practice, we attain by associating with those who have these qualities. So here Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur said that these other two stages of bhakti, they are not pure bhakti. They're called Bhakti-abhasa, semblance of bhakti. We should not think that this is pure bhakti yet. Only pure bhakti is called, Swarupa Siddha Bhakti, also called Kevala Bhakti, or Akaitab, means without any cheating propensity. Kaitab Shunya, free from any deceit, and is blissful by nature. So sometimes Arupa Siddha Bhakti, endeavors which are indirectly attributed with the quality of devotion, is like a karma with assistance of bhakti. And then Sangha Siddha Bhakti, which is when these good qualities come, they are actually Gyan identified as Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Endeavors which are indirectly attributed with the quality of devotion. Sorry, this is Arupa Siddha. And sometimes Jnana is identified as Sangha Siddha Bhakti, endeavors associated with or are favorable to the cultivation of devotion. So basically, in this first chapter that we just finished today we're starting chapter 2, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur made clear that the only way of auspiciousness, only way of attainment of pure bliss for the soul, and actually the natural tendency of the soul, is to perform Uttama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti, pure devotional service to the Lord. And this pure devotional service is the cultivation of activities that are meant to please Krishna. Favorable to Krishna, meant only to please him, not covered by karma, jnana, etc., and devoid of any other desire than to give pleasure to Krishna. So in the first chapter, he made clear what is pure bhakti. Now in the chapter 2, he'll say, the name of the chapter is an analysis of Bhakti-abhasa, or the semblance of bhakti. So we don't even know, like abhas, it's a Sanskrit word, right? Abhas, translated as semblance in English. A little bit even hard to understand what is the meaning of semblance. But it's like what appears to be, like the appearance. It's like the appearance. So there's a Sanskrit verse here in the beginning saying, Yad Bhakti-abhasa lesho api dadati phalam uttamam tamanandanidhim Krishna Chaitanyam samupasmahe. Saying, we worship Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who is an ocean of transcendental bliss. Even a faint trace of devotion unto him yields the highest result. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, my dear devotees, in the previous chapter, we discussed the intrinsic nature, Swarupa, and extrinsic characteristics, Tatastha Lakshana, of Bhakti. In this chapter, we will discuss Bhakti-abhasa, or the semblance of Bhakti. We have already discussed a little about Bhakti-abhasa while reviewing the Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti, means the external symptoms or characteristics of Bhakti. So we already discussed a little bit. And indeed, Bhakti-abhasa is actually included within the category of the Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti. So don't let the Sanskrit terms spook you. Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti. So Lakshana means symptoms or characteristic. Tatastha means external or marginal, external. So Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti means what Bhakti is not. So Bhakti is not anabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam. Pure Bhakti is not covered by jnana and karma, is devoid of any other desire than to give happiness to Krishna. Anabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam. So that's the Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti. And Bhakti-abhasa, so he's saying Bhakti-abhasa is actually included within the category of Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti. But since it's not really suitable for Bhakti-abhasa to be thoroughly analyzed in a section where both the Swarupa and Tatastha Lakshana of Bhakti are being described, it has become necessary to write a separate chapter on the topic of Bhakti-abhasa. We hope that this article will serve to further clarify the subject matter of the previous chapter. So even though Bhakti-abhasa is also counted with the external characteristics of Bhakti, Tatastha Lakshana, we should discuss it separately, not where you're speaking about pure devotion, because this is only a semblance. It has already been stated that the natural and unadulterated endeavor of the infinitesimal consciousness, the jiva, towards the complete consciousness, Krishna, is called bhakti. Jivas, the souls, are situated in two stages, the liberated stage and the conditioned stage. In the liberated stage, the jiva is free from all varieties of material relationships and is situated in his pure constitutional position. In such a stage, the jiva remains free from any material designation, and hence, within him there is no opportunity for the marginal characteristics of bhakti to exist. In the conditioned stage, the jiva forgets his constitutional identity, as his spiritual intelligence is deluded by the coverings of the subtle and gross bodies. In this stage, the soul, the jiva, acquires various material designations. When a mirror is free from dust, it gives a clear reflection of any object. But when it is covered with dust, it does not give a clear reflection. In such a condition, we can say that the mirror has acquired a designation. When something covers the swabhav, or nature of an object, then that covering is called the object's designation. Material nature covers the pure constitutional nature of the soul, and that covering is the jiva's designation. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhayam Dviktabhi Niveshatasyad Ishata Petasa Viparayo Smriti Tanmayato Buddha Abhajitam Bhakte Kaisham Guru Deva Tatma. The jiva's innate tendency of unalloyed devotion towards the complete consciousness Bhagavan Shri Krishna is his nitya dharma, or eternal occupational duty. When the same jiva becomes opposed to Bhagavan, then he is gripped by fear and his intelligence is lost. Maya is the apara shakti, or external potency of Bhagavan. Considering the existence of this material world, which has manifested from the external potency to be an independent element from Bhagavan, the unfortunate jiva falls into material existence. Intelligent people accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a Sadguru, bona fide guru, engage themselves in the exclusive bhajan of the Paramdeva, or Supreme God, Sri Hari. So this verse is very important. Bhayam Dvita Bineveshatatsya. Basically, what he's trying to say until so far here is that, first of all, Bhakti-abhasa doesn't exist in the spiritual world because it's a symptom of the marginal characteristic of Bhakti. And in the spiritual world, all the jivas are established in the pure devotion. Right? So, he's describing what is the designation of the jiva. So he's saying, Bhakti is the nature of the soul towards Lord. There are two kinds of jivas. Lalit Mohini, I think it's only you today. Are you understanding? Please let me know if you have any questions, anything. So it has so Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and the nature of the souls inherently, like the eternal nature of the soul to natural and unadulterated endeavor of the infinite living entity, the soul, towards the complete consciousness, God, is called bhakti. There are two kinds of souls, of jivas. One, liberated, another one, conditioned. So the jiva, the soul which is pure, doesn't have any material designation. So, because he has no material designation, there's no opportunity for the marginal characteristic of bhakti to exist. So there's no Bhakti-abhasa or any external characteristic of bhakti, means what bhakti is not in the spiritual world. In the conditioned stage, the jiva, the soul, forgets his constitutional identity. Because his spiritual intelligence is deluded by the coverings of the subtle and gross bodies. In this stage, the jiva acquires various material designations. So the mirror gives a reflection, but if that mirror has some dust, it will not give the reflection. So you can say, in that case, when something covers the nature of an object, that covering is called the object's designation. So the material nature is covering the pure constitutional nature of the jiva. That covering is the jiva's designation. So now we are covered by the gross body and the subtle body. These are designations. So and we have even other designations, like example, woman. I mean, being a woman is the body, right? But example, being, I don't know, Brazilian, being ugly, being intelligent, being dumb, being late, being being I don't know, military, being a dentist. What to speak of only the mind and the body? We have so many other designations that we also acquire in our lives. One definition of bhakti is sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paraten nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhakti uchati. Bhakti is when we are free from all the material designations. So in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37, it says that the living entity is actually the nature of the soul towards Lord is bhakti. And this tendency of love and service to the Lord is actually the eternal occupational duty of the soul, the eternal nature of the soul. But when the jiva, when the soul becomes opposing to Bhagavan, the jiva is gripped by fear and his intelligence is lost. Maya, the illusory energy, is external, an external potency of God, called apara shakti, means inferior. But what happens? The jiva, deluded by Maya, thinks, so the soul thinks that this material world, everything we see here, has manifested from actually the external potency of the Lord, is a potency of the Lord. But deluded, we think that everything exists separately from Bhagavan. So that's the soul, right? In this material world, thinking everything belongs to me, is not thinking about God, doesn't think actually everything belongs to God. Is thinking everything to be separately from the Lord. And some people don't even think about the Lord, generally, not even believe in God. So thinking that soul is thinking that this material world is separate from the Lord. But intelligent people, what do? They take shelter of the spiritual master, the bona fide spiritual master. And engage in the spiritual practice of the Supreme Lord. Lalita Mohini. So the soul doesn't recognize the casing it is in, body, etc., not the material titles. Yes, actually, it said that the soul does not touch the material energy. So actually, the soul is always pure, Shuddha, pure. That's amazing, right? We are here in this illusion, but actually the soul is not touched by the material nature. Just like, they give an example, like a cat inside a basket. Imagine there's a basket upside down and there's a cat inside. The cat's actually not touching the basket, but still the cat is somehow covered by that basket. So in the same way, we're here in this illusion, but it's not like it's like a maneva bandhana karanam, maneva mukti karanam. Actually, our mind is the cause of liberation, and mind is the cause of bondage. Even they say actually Maya is actually not touching the living entity, because the living entity is superior to Maya, because Maya is inert and the living entity is spiritual, but from tatasta, from marginal potency, but spiritual. So they give an example. Imagine there is a baby lion that got adrift from his parents, became like orphan, and started living with the sheep, a flock of sheep, okay? And then this baby lion is staying with the sheep like this, okay? But then when the baby lion grows, the baby lion will one day realize the power he has. And he'll like, "Rah!" And all the sheep will run away. But until when he was dormant, he was staying with the sheep, right? So in the same way, we are here in the material world, but actually, um, the living entity is from a higher nature. But because the living entity is so small, we are grabbed by Maya. But Daivijesha Gunamai, Maya Durata Jamam, Maya Evaye Prapadente, Maya Metam Tarantite. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, those who surrender to me, I will deliver them from this ocean of material existence. Like I'll make them overcome Maya. Because Maya, even though inferior potency of the Lord is very, very powerful, and the living entity is very, very small. That's why it can be grabbed by Maya. So that's an example of the baby lion, the orphan baby lion. And another example also is giving that how Maya holds, or can say eludes, the living entity. Like if you take a monkey, if you show to a monkey a banana, okay, then you put that banana inside a pitcher. The monkey will follow you and put his hand in the pitcher to grab the banana, okay? But imagine a pitcher which is very like has a narrow entry like this, a big pitcher like a clay pot, narrow passageway to go in. And then the monkey puts his hand inside, grabs the banana, and then when he tries to remove his hand, his hand is stuck. The monkey becomes very angry. He thinks that the pitcher or the pot is actually holding his hand. But actually, if he let go of the banana, his hand will be able to slip out. But the monkey does not understand this. So in the same way, we are thinking Maya is holding us, but actually we are holding Maya. That's the truth. So, but the soul is beyond everything. So actually our soul is not contaminated by Maya. The soul is compared to a seed now. Or for example, to a patient in a coma, right? So our soul is like sleeping now. But it's so powerful that it's giving energy to our body, right? Without the soul, the conscious is not there. Like, the subtle body, mind, ego, everything doesn't exist without soul inside. But our soul is pure and is like sleeping now. But depending of everything we did in all these infinite lives in this material world, that makes the heart, means the samskaras, the different things we went through. So that also makes the impressions and make us who we are also, and whatever we have to live in this life. So from this above verse, we can conclude that the jiva's maya bhinivesh, or absorption in the material energy, imposes a false designation upon him. In such an adulterated stage, the bhakti of the jiva easily deteriorates and appears as bhakti-abhasa, semblance of bhakti. Those who desire nothing other than entrance into Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, should completely cross over Bhakti-abhasa and take shelter of Kevala Bhakti, exclusive and uninterrupted devotion. So again, the nature of the soul is pure, transcendental, loving service to the Lord. But because of the material designations, the nature of the soul is changed. Like it's not changed, it's covered. So we have a temporary designation. Example given in Jaiva Dharma, the water, right? The element water is liquid normally. But if you put it in a negative temperature, low degree, low minus, this water will freeze, right? It'll become ice. So ice is also water, but not in its normal nature. Normal nature of the water is to flow, to go down, right? To be liquid. But if you again put that water in the normal condition of temperature and pressure, the water again will be liquid. So in the same way, now we are nature, so we are calling something called naimitic dharma, means temporary nature or acquired nature, temporary. But the Nitya Dharma means the eternal nature of the soul is Vaishnava Dharma, is to serve the Lord with bhakti, pure bhakti. So that's why the book, the most important book of Srila Bhaktivedanta is called Jaiva Dharma, which means Jaiva Dharma means the nature of the soul. Jaiva comes from the word Jiva, Jiva Dharma. So what is Jaiva Dharma? Dharma means nature, the nature of the soul, which also can be translated as the religion, means the real nature of the soul is to connect to the Lord. And that is Vaishnava Dharma. Actually, everyone is a Vaishnava, but not everyone is recognizing that yet. But the nature of everyone is to connect to the Lord through bhakti. So that's in the first chapter of the Jaiva Dharma, very important book. I don't know if you're reading Lalita Mohini Didi. I really recommend you should read Jaiva Dharma. I think we spoke about it now. You can read also the audiobook. You can hear, very nice audiobook of Jaiva Dharma. It's available. So, for this reason, we are reviewing the topic of Bhakti-abhasa in great detail. So page 34. Those who desire nothing other than entrance into Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, should completely cross over Bhakti-abhasa, the semblance of Bhakti, and take shelter of Kevala Bhakti, means pure Bhakti, exclusive and uninterrupted devotion. For this reason, we are reviewing the topic of Bhakti-abhasa in great detail. This in-depth analysis of Bhakti-abhasa is extremely confidential. Only intimate devotees are qualified to hear it. This is because those who consider Bhakti-abhasa to be bhakti will never be pleased upon reading this book until they become truly fortunate. I'm feeling immense pleasure in presenting this topic before the intimate devotees. Wow, so now Srila Bhaktivedanta revealed something very important, that even in the beginning, I think maybe you remember I was telling that this part of the book, which describes in detail Bhakti-abhasa, we don't hear it often. Like we should learn and study this all the time, but it's not like a kata, which is like spoken all the time everywhere. It's like something we really like, how to say, like mainstream. It's something more deep, like a deeper study. Because why? He's saying only intimate devotees generally go to this. Because those people who think that Bhakti-abhasa is bhakti, they'll not like it. They don't want, they think they're doing bhakti, but they're not. Those who are doing the semblance of devotion. Those who consider Bhakti-abhasa to be bhakti will never be pleased upon reading this book until they become truly fortunate. I am feeling immense pleasure in presenting this topic before the intimate devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has not given a separate analysis of Bhakti-abhasa and Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. Within the first half of the verse, Anabhilashta Shunyam Jnana Karmadyanavritam, he's given a complete yet hidden explanation of Bhakti-abhasa. While discussing the topic of Rati-abhasa, or the semblance of Rati, in his review of Rati Tattva, Srila Rupa Goswami has nicely explained Bhakti-abhasa. I am presenting this deliberation on Bhakti-abhasa upon the basis of the conception of Rasacharya Rupa Goswami Pad. Wow. So here Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur is explaining where is he explaining this from. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is the book about Bhakti that Rupa Goswami Pad gave all the definitions of Bhakti, he didn't explain in details Bhakti-abhasa, especially when he was saying what Bhakti is not. Anabhilashta Shunyam Jnana Karmadyanavritam. But when he spoke about Rati-abhasa later on, then he spoke a little bit about Bhakti-abhasa. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur is presenting this on the basis of that. So he's saying, Bhakti-abhasa exists prior to the stage of Shuddha Bhakti. From Bhakti-abhasa, the stages of Shuddha Bhakti and Rati in Shuddha Bhakti appear in sequence. So from Bhakti-abhasa, the stages of Shuddha Bhakti and Rati in Shuddha Bhakti appear in sequence. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Pratibimbas tatha chhaya ratyabhaso didha mataha. There are two types of Bhakti-abhasa, Pratibimba Bhakti-abhasa and Chaya Bhakti-abhasa. The difference between the two is that Pratibimba remains apart from the original object and appears as another separate entity, while Chaya is completely dependent on the original object and from a position of proximity to it appears as a partial manifestation of the original object. So don't be afraid. Two types of Bhakti-abhasa, semblance of Bhakti. One is called Chaya Bhakti-abhasa, means shadow of Bhakti. Another one is called Pratibimba Bhakti-abhasa, or a reflection of Bhakti. So they are very different, because what is the difference between a shadow and a reflection? So let's analyze it. When a tree is reflected in water, the tree, which is visible in the water, is called the Pratibimba, or reflection of the original tree. The reflection is never in touch with the original object. The existence of the reflection is due solely to the existence of the original object. Still, the reflection is accepted as a separate identity. The form which appears because of the tree's blockage of the path of light and which resembles the form of the tree itself is called the shade, the shadow, Chaya. The existence of the Chaya is entirely dependent upon the original object. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Tasmam nirupaditam evarater mukhya swarupatam supaditam abhasatam tatagavrita paravratat manatomiti. Which means that when bhakti is unadulterated, it is, swarupa bhakti, or devotion in its intrinsic state. But when bhakti is adulterated, then it is called Bhakti-abhasa, semblance of bhakti. Bhakti-abhasa is manifested by the goni vritti, or secondary inclination of the jiva. The jiva, the nature of the soul, intrinsic inclination is called mukhya vritti. And the inclination which is obstructed or covered is called goni vritti. Pratibimba Bhakti-abhasa, the reflection, and Chaya Bhakti-abhasa, the shadow of the semblance of bhakti, are both categorized as goni vritti, or secondary tendencies. When bhakti reaches its pure form, it is completely free from the tendencies of Pratibimba and Chaya. At that time, only the original object itself, pure spontaneous devotion, is manifest. So this was the introduction to Bhakti-abhasa. On next Wednesday, we'll start with Pratibimba Bhakti-abhasa. Page 36. So any question? Lalita Mohini, did you understand? Semblance of devotion, something that appears to be devotion, but it's not devotion yet. Not pure devotion yet. Comes from the material nature that's covering the jiva. There are two kinds. One which is like a shadow, another is kind of like a reflection. A shadow is more connected to bhakti, because the shadow is more connected to the body as the reflection. Reflection is taken as a separate identity. So Chaya Bhakti-abhasa is somehow better than Pratibimba Bhakti-abhasa. We'll read about it soon. So actually this kind of analysis is one of the main topics discussed in this book. Very thin book, as you can see. But this discussion about Bhakti-abhasa is something very, very special given in this book by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So we pray to Srila Gurudeva, to Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, to Srila Guru Varga, that we can understand what is through the true nature of bhakti, what is not the true nature of bhakti, what is Bhakti-abhasa, and then can practice Shuddha Bhakti by His mercy. We can cross this Bhakti-abhasa. But actually, we'll read. Actually, even Bhakti-abhasa is also very high. But we'll come to that point, reading and understanding. Jai Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jai Srila Gurudeva ki Jai.